Another day, another Republican flips on Trump in one of his cases. So this is reported by NPR here. Ex-Trump attorney Jenna Ellis pleads guilty in Georgia election interference case. So let me give you the specifics. Attorney Jenna Ellis has entered a guilty plea in Georgia election interference case. Ellis is the fourth defendant to plead guilty in the broad racketeering case focused on efforts to keep then-President Donald Trump in office after his 2020 loss to Joe Biden. Lawyers Kenneth Cheesebro, Sidney Powell entered guilty pleas last week, just before their trial was set to begin. Scott Hall, a bail bondsman, pleaded guilty in September. In exchange for truthful testimony at future trials, Ellis pleaded guilty to one felony count of aiding and abetting false statements and writings. She had been charged with 2 counts, including racketeering. The terms of the plea agreement also include 5 years probation, $5,000 restitution to the Georgia Secretary of State's office, 100 hours community service, and a letter of apology to the people of Georgia. Ellis's charge stems from a December 3rd, 2020 subcommittee hearing of Georgia's Senate Judiciary Committee where Trump lawyers Rudy Giuliani and Ray Smith made a litany of baseless claims of widespread election fraud. Giuliani and Smith, both co-defendants in the Georgia case, asserted that tens of thousands of minors, felons, and dead people voted in Georgia's 2020 election. Ellis pleaded guilty to aiding this testimony, which prosecutors say was intended to convince the legislature to disregard Biden's victory in Georgia. Quote, the false statements were made with reckless disregard for the truth. Prosecutor Daisha Young said at Tuesday's plea hearing, Ellis began to cry as she asked to address the court. Quote, what I did not do, but should have done, Your Honor, was to make sure that the facts the other lawyers alleged to be true were in fact true, Ellis said. In the frenetic pace of attempting to raise challenges to the election in several states, including Georgia, I failed to do my due diligence. I believe in and I value election integrity. If I knew then what I know now, I would have declined to represent Donald Trump in these post-election challenges. Ellis was censured earlier this year by a Colorado judge after admitting she made repeated false statements about the 2020 presidential election. In Georgia, Fulton County Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee has not set a trial date yet for the remaining co-defendants, including Trump. The former president's federal election interference trial is scheduled to begin in March, so a Georgia trial is likely to begin before next spring. So this is another high-profile situation where a top Trump confidant has cut a deal. They're going to talk. They're going to flip on him. And they still, at least in the case of Jenna Ellis, it's still 1 felony. With Sidney Powell, it was 6 misdemeanors and probation. Jenna Ellis also gets probation, a fine, a letter of apology. That's the same with Cheesebro and same with Sidney Powell. But this is a big deal, man. This is a big deal. Because look, we already know his New York fraud case. He's already been found liable of fraud. So now it's just a question of how big is the fine going to be? Because it was a civil case, not a criminal case in that instance. He committed insurance fraud, bank fraud, lied on financial statements time and time again, did it to get favorable loan treatment from banks. He would lie to pay lower taxes as well. It was just lie on top of lie within lie, right? And so found liable of that. He's going to have to pay a fine up to $250 million in that case, losing his business certificates in New York. That is devastating. His business is centered in New York. And now it's, you can't do business in New York. Well, guess what? What happens then? Do all of Trump's creditors go, you know what? We don't trust you anymore. We're not going to do business with you anymore. Trump's creditors leave him. There's no more business. That's it. It's done. It's over. It's already done in New York. It could be done everywhere else. Okay, so that's huge. Fraud trial, donezo. But you have the classified documents case, the obstruction of justice, the Jack Smith one. That's a layup with all the tremendous mountains of evidence that they have on that one. And then you also have Jack Smith with the election crimes case. And you got people flipping in that one as well. You have the case in Georgia, the election crimes case. People are flipping all over the place in that one as well. And Trump has a track record of flipping on the people closest to him when it's convenient. And now that's going to come back to bite him in the ass. By the way, some of the people he goes, I'm not going to pay your legal bills. Well, if you don't pay their legal bills, they're even more likely to flip on you, you dumbass. And that's what happened. And Jenna Ellis is one of those people. And so, I mean, look, it's all a matter of the timeline at this point, but homie's in serious, serious trouble, unlike anything we've ever seen. And we all should have known that it's not like Trump's inner circle, they were going to act like the mafia and nobody talks, right? Like they have a code of ethics in the mafia where it's like, just don't talk. If nobody ever talks, they can't really stop what we got going on here. Just serve your time and move on. Literally everybody in the Trump case is running for the door and squealing like that. So, good luck, fella. You're going to need it. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.